really, Danny Boy.
Yeah,
I thought I'd heard that one before.
And what was that other
By
one?
the Celtic women.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's one.
What about
We
that?
tried to get that at Gwen's funeral, and they won't do it. And I said, well, that was an Irish tune. You have to go by what they're gonna do for you. Oh, hell. I know you've heard that.
Probably. What was your favorite West Point marching song?
On brave old Armageddon. Ba-ba-ba-ba-bum, bum, bum, bum.
Kevin knows that one.
Bum, 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 ba-dum. Bum, ba-dum, ba-dee, ba-dum, bum, bum.
Grandpa, how about when you came to Orlando and you started your optometry business? How'd you do that? How'd you start your optometry business?
I didn't have to. I was approached by the head man. I'd been recommended by the professor at school who had been his professor, and I always told old Dr. Neal that the reason he recommended me is because he asked for a volunteer to carry his beer cooler down to his home basement. In Philadelphia, they have those 3-story homes.
Right.
And with his, the first floor was his office. The second floor was his apartment. I forget what third. But then in the basement, he had a huge, I mean, it would take a couple hundred people. And it had everything there. Full-size bar, organ, so forth. That was where he did his entertaining. And he bought a new beer cooler, and I volunteered to carry it down there.
So you think that's how he gave you the recommendation?
That's what I told him.
So did you start off right where Were you in the same place the whole time? Or did you move?
Yeah.
And how did you choose Orlando? How did you choose to come to Orlando?
Bayshore. I had heard about him. He just was one of the early pioneers, and I didn't make squat when I came here. And Gwen got a teaching job. She made $3,600 a year. So together, the two of us together made less than $10,000. And the house we lived in, we paid $7,000 for.
And how long did you live there?
About 3 years, and then we moved over to Druid Hills, and it was a little bit bigger and nicer, and then we lived there 3 or 4 years, and then we moved here, and that's it.
Been here ever since.
Yep. Before we moved here, I'd come over here every night and paint. Every night from about 7 till midnight. So that when they finally moved in, every square inch was painted.
And it was a brand new house, right?
Not really. It was I'm trying to think when it was built. It seemed like it was built in 58, 59, something like that.
Oh, okay.
You ready?
The Lone Ranger and Tonto were out on the plains, and they were surrounded by Indians, and Indians captured him, but Tonto had some relatives, so they let him go, but they staked out the Lone Ranger on the ground in the hot sun and left him there. And there was nobody there except his faithful horse Silver. So he whistled for Silver, and Silver came over and he whispered in his ear, and Silver took off like a shot. And about 30 minutes later, here came Silver with this gorgeous blonde on his back and galloped up to the Lone Ranger, and the Lone Ranger looked up and he said, "You dumb horse, I told you to bring the posse." And the other one that I always liked, similar, two guys playing golf. One hit the ball to the left into the woods, and the other one hit the ball to the right into the woods. And the guy was looking for his ball on the left, and flowers, all these yellow flowers all over the ground, and he was knocking him down looking for his ball, and all of a sudden there's a puff of smoke. A lady, little tiny lady in a blue outfit with a wand appeared, and she says, "Young man, I am Mother Nature, and you have destroyed my buttercup, and you shall not have a drop of butter as long as you live." And she disappeared. And he came out, and his buddy was coming out of the woods on the other side. He said, "Come here, Harry, I gotta tell you what happened to me." He told him the story. The guy looked at him, he said, "You think you got troubles?" He said, "I hit my damn ball into the Pussy Willows." The night before the Battle of Little Bighorn, and they captured an Indian and had him tied to a post outside of Custer's tent. And in the distance, you could hear the drums. Bum, 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 bum. And one of his aides, the major, came over and he said, "General, I don't like the sound of those drums." And the Indian raised his head and he said, "He's not our regular drummer." That was a good one. The sheriff arrested this cowboy one day. He was in town, all he had on was his gun belt and his cowboy boots and nothing else. So he took him in indecent exposure, and he said, "What did you do that for?" He said, "It wasn't my fault." He said, "That was Rosie from over at the tavern." He said, "She asked me over to her house, and she took off her clothes, and she told me to take off all mine, and I did. She lay down, and she said, 'Okay, cowboy, you can go to town now.' He said, that's how I got here. Well, your mother one time, when she was little, was in John Wanamaker's in Philadelphia. They came down the escalator, and as they got to the foot of the escalator, there was a soda ash fire extinguisher, and she reached out and grabbed it and turned it over. And of course, when that happens and they mix, you know, the hose is just shooting all over the place. And, your grandmother did the only sensible thing. She grabbed her and ran.
It's good to know.
Last you saw was a salesman trying to cut it off, and of course you can't when that mixture's. I like. Matilda.
Very, very nice.
And last one, it's not a Christmas song, but I always liked it. We tried to get out of doing the Christmas party this year, but we were hooked.
Beautiful.
Where are the rest of the insurance section?